Hey everybody, for today's episode this will be our gargantuan creature. I do not own any gargantuan creatures for my army, or armies, but primary being my army is Dark Eldar. I do not have a gargantuan creature. And in our campaign that we're running for Planetary Empires, 5 of our players now have access to D weapons. And in a recent video that I watched and participated in comment was that the Talos has T7, so it wouldn't be instant death by a D weapon. But the part that I was mistaken in was that the Talos would not have a feel no pain against the attack. So I was corrected, and then that forced me to read the rules more on the D weapon. And I tried looking for contemporary videos on destroyer weapons, and there really hasn't been anything posted in almost a year. So I'm going to post this video more or less for my gaming group, so that we're all on the same level as far as for how the destroyer weapons will work. And if anybody has any idea if it's really supposed to be done differently, I mean, comment below. But I've not seen any new information even after the recent facts. So as far as for YouTube videos, has nothing been posted for almost a year. Alright, I'm going to set up the tripod and then we'll be back. Alright, so first bit is, let's just confirm the information as far as for the destroyer weapon. Now, it's been noted that you're supposed to use the destroyer weapon table in the 7th edition, so you're not supposed to use any information as far as for the other supplements or the Apocalypse book. So it's just strictly the 7th edition book. And for the special rule of the destroyer weapon is basically what it states. As soon as I get to that page, I'm going to read the full thing out. So, a weapon that has a D instead of a strength value is a destroyer weapon. To resolve destroyer weapon's attack, roll to hit as you would for a standard attack. If the attack hits, roll on the table above instead of rolling to wound for armor penetration. To wound or for armor penetration. Most destroyers have an AP1 or AP2, so armor saves are not typically allowed. Cover saves and invulnerable saves can be taken against hits from a destroyer weapon as normal unless it's a devastating hit or death blow. Result roll. For the purpose of determining if the destroyer hit has instant death rule, assume that it's strength 10. Multiple wounds, hull points inflicted by a destroyer hit do not carry over to other models in the unit. Any excess are lost. So that's the destroyer weapon special rule. I'm not going to bother with the destroyer weapon attack table to explain that. But basically, as far as for, because I'm going to go over that as far as for the display or the example. Now for feel no pain, the feel no pain rule, which is basically the next page over, it just says when a model with a special rule suffers an unsafe wound, it can take a special feel no pain roll to avoid being wounded. And then a whole bunch of other stuff. This also includes perils of the warp. Then it goes and says in the third paragraph that feel no pain saves may not be taken against destroyer attacks or against unsafe wounds that would have caused the instant death special rule. So that's basically it, and everybody knows that feel no pain is on a 5-up and stuff like that, unless feel no pain is in brackets with a different number. So it says in the third paragraph on page 164 that feel no pains cannot be taken against a destroyer weapon, but a destroyer weapon does not cause instant death to models that are T6 or higher. So now we got those two special rules out of the way. I'm going to bring out some models here. another thing I forgot to mention here is that, so like in the recent fact that came out, so the recent fact for the destroyer weapons, one, it says that if a result of a 2 through 5 on a destroyer weapon attack table inflicts D3 wounds, do these carry over to the unit if they overkill a model? And the answer is no. If a model is hit by a destroyer weapon and takes a seriously wound result for 3 wounds, how many cover or invulnerable saves does it take? And it says 1. So if the example is that if you save against a failed, the target model suffers all 3 wounds. And that's pretty much really all that I care about in here. Penetrations are all the same. Can you do lookout surge against destroyer weapons? You can. And then the template weapons, we don't have any destroyer templates yet in our group, but basically the question is, with the destroyer weapons that use templates, how many saves are meant to be taken before or after rolling the destroyer weapon attack table? And it says after. But basically you treat each flame template as a single hit. Best my understanding on that one. So start off with these 2 guys here. We got a Moloch or Trigon, and then we got a Maleceptor. Are they both showing in the camera here? Yeah, it looks like it. Okay, so we're going to pretend that this gargantuan creature's got 4 attacks and needs 4s to hit, and say that he rolls 3 4s. Now, prior to swinging, though, of course, the controller of the gargantuan creature would have to decide how many swings is he going to be swinging, he or she going to be swinging at these 2 monstrous creatures. So if he splits it 50-50, you'd have to roll 2 dice over here to swing and hit, and then 2 dice over here to swing and hit. So say that 1 die hits here, 2 dice hit the Maleceptor. Roll on the chart. Alright, so we're back after adjusting the camera. Hopefully it doesn't fall over on us, because I got a lot of models underneath it. But so we rolled a hit. Here's our hits. So the hit against the Moloch, now we're going to roll on the table. So we're going to be doing D3 wounds, and we're doing a full 3 wounds. And then for this, rolling on a chart, it's going to do nothing. Rolling on a chart, it's going to do D3 wounds, and it's only going to do 1 wound. So this is doing 3 wounds against the Moloch Trigon, and it has 6 total wounds. It does not have Feel No Pain, and it can't use Feel No Pain against a destroyer weapon, but since it is T6, it can't be instant death. So let's get a bigger counter here. So now it's down to 3 wounds. Now the Maleceptor has 5 wounds and has just received 1 wound, but the Maleceptor also has a 5-up Feel No Pain. So it has not 5-up Feel No Pain, sorry, has a 5-up invulnerable save, and it can make an invulnerable save, but it failed with a 4. If it had made a 5, then of course it would have negated that and not receive any wounds. So say that now with the we go back to these hits again, and we roll for the result, and we get a 6. If I can find a 6. So we get a 6. That's going to be 6. Where's that? It's going to be D6 plus 6 wounds. So you roll, that's going to be 12 wounds on this guy. He can't do any saves whatsoever, no invulnerable saves, so he's toast because he's just received 12 wounds. for the Maliceptor, say that we roll a we roll threes on the chart, so that's going to be D3, and we roll threes, basically 3 wounds for each one. Okay, so we got 6 wounds in going against the Maliceptor, but since the Maliceptor has 5-up invulnerable saves, it's going to save against it, but you only get 1 save for each. So 1 5-up here failed, so the Maliceptor is going to take 3 wounds. Takes 3 wounds. Now it's got 1 more 5-up save. Failed with a 1, so now the Maliceptor is dead because it's received 6 wounds. 6 wounds total, killing it. And of course, this was 2 different units. So let's say that we have multi-wound models. So these are my grotesques here, and they're joined with an Archon with a Shadow Field. And these are grotesque from the grotesquerie, and we'll say that they're toughness 6, so they can't be instant death by the gargantuan creature. So gargantuan creature is going to roll a hit. Didn't do so good. He's got 2 hits. Now going to roll on the chart. So we got a 4 and a 4, so that's going to be D3 number of wounds. Let's get a different color die here. We'll go blues. So rolling for the D3s. So we got 3 wounds, and then we got 2 wounds here. So one model is going to receive 3 wounds. It's AP 2. It can't save against it. It can't do feel no pain. So we have one model that's dead with 3 wounds. The other model is going to receive 2 wounds. It's AP 2, AP 1, whichever. Can't do feel no pain, but has only received 2 wounds. It's not going to be instant death because the model is T6. The weapon is considered strength 10. So the model is going to have 1 wound left. Now, say that we roll this again, and we're going to do we got the same amount of hits, only 2 hits. We roll for the D chart to see how many hits we get. So out of the D3, say that we get 1 D3, and then we get 2 out of the D3. Sorry, so we rolled for the chart, and then we're going to get the same thing. Pardon me. So we got 2 wounds in the pool, and then we got a 1 wound in the pool, sorry, and then we got 2 wounds in the pool. So basically that's 3 wounds total. 1 model is going to be killed. Again, it's T6, not going to be instant death, can't do feel no pain, but since there's only 3 wounds total, basically you're going to have 1 wound on him from the 1 hit, and then you're going to get another 2 wounds from the 2nd hit, which will kill it out. Now, if you have... Alright, so I'm going to do a different example here. Say that you're rolling the hit with the gargantuan creature, and you score 4 hits total. So we got 4 hits. Now we're going to roll on the chart, and then for the chart, say that we get a D3, a D3, a D3, and then we get the D6 plus 6. So now you're going to roll. You're going to get 1 wound there. You're going to get 3 wounds for that one. You're going to get another 3 wounds for that one. And we'll get Billy out here. You're going to get 12 wounds, no saves whatsoever. So you can say, well, save this for last, take these first. So one model would lose with 3, one model would lose with 3, and then another model would have 1 wound left, and then he would take the D6 to finish him off. Hope that makes sense to everybody. But say that you had only 3 models, and you still say resolve the 6 result, the 12 wounds with no saves of any kind, then you'd have 3 wounds here, 3 or 2 wounds on this model. It doesn't really matter, because either which way you'd still have this many, you'd still have this left, and even with an invulnerable save, which can't be taken against the roll, this guy would die. So let's get another example. Get we got our Talos here. And since this thing's only got 4 attacks, you have to decide where you want to go. We'll go ahead and just throw all attacks at the Talos. Say we get 4 hits, and then you roll 2 6s on the chart and 3 wounds, D3 wounds on the others. We got 12 wounds with no saves of any kind. And then you got, you got 1 wound, and we'll just use the numbers to represent 2 wounds. Well, that's going to be 3 wounds. That will kill all 3 of these out. Because the excess wounds can't be carried over from model to model. You treat each one of these as an individual hit. So each individual hit has its own results as far as for the wounds. If one of them died missed, and we only had 3 things, well then basically out of the 25 wounds, out of the 25 wounds, 1 model will still survive out of that combat, because the 3rd die only scored 1 wound in combat. Now let's talk about vehicles. Let's say that this is a squadron, and for whatever reason we got we'll say it's death rays from the eyes. It's a D death ray, hits the vehicle, has, say it's a heavy 4, again we get 4 hits on that death ray with the eyes. I'm going to roll the pin for all 4 of them, and you're rolling on the D chart. So we got D3, we got 6. Alright, so we got 3 penetrating hits. They're all going to cause D3 hull points. And for the sake of it, we'll just go say there's going to be 2 hull points caused by each one of those. And then the one that rolled a 6, we'll say it does 12, because it's devastating. Alright, you can do cover saves against this. So these guys got a 4-up Jink, 3-up with a flicker field. So for each of these pin hits, it has a chance to do a cover save against. So say that it fails the first one, it's got 2 pin hits, so you get to roll on the pin chart for both of those. So we got a 2 and a 2, be 3, 3 because it's open top. Basically nothing happens to the vehicle. The vehicle still has 1 hull point left. That one's been resolved. We got 2 more hull points. This time we say that the vehicle manages to does a 3-up jink against that attack, so nothing happens there. Next 2 hull points, it's only 1 attack that causes it. Tries to do a 3-up jink and then fails. So those 2 penetrating hits are going to finish this vehicle off. We'll do the roll on the pen chart. Well, we got an explosion and nothing else, so the vehicle does explode. Won't do nothing to the side armor to these guys, because the only thing that runs in a squadron for Dark Elder are Ravengers. So it explodes. Now we still got the 12 hull points caused by this one. No saves of any kind can be made, and they're all penetrating hits. So you can take all these dice, see if you can find a 6 somewhere in there. So we got a pen, explodes, and then that vehicle is gone. Meanwhile, this one vehicle still stays alive. So let's see if we can do another example of that. Again, the vehicle are a squadron, so they share all the penetrating hits that come across. Say that we get 3 hits this time from the Death Ray, and then say that we roll a 6 and all 3 of them. Well, of course, that would mean then all 3 vehicles would be gone from the penetrating hit. You'd have to resolve 12 penetrating hits per vehicle in this case, if you rolled 6s for the number of d6 plus 6 against the vehicle. So basically you just got to keep in mind that each hit is its own wound, and when you roll the wound, you roll on the chart. So like again, like nothing, 1 does nothing, 2 through 5 will cause D3 number of wounds, and then 6 will cause D6 plus 6 wounds or hull points. They're basically the same. And then of course this is the bad one. This is one where you get no saves against. But if for some reason that you had a gargantuan creature with 8 wounds and you rolled a 1 on the chart, and so you get d6 plus 6, that's 7 wounds, that one gargantuan creature with 8 wounds would still be alive, because that gargantuan creature most likely has either a T7 or T8 or T9 for toughness, so it won't be instant death by the destroyer weapon. So, hope that explains things as far as for how the wound and the wound pool works for the destroyer weapons. Again, like I said, I was mistaken thinking that the Talos, because it is toughness 7, getting hit with a strength 10 weapon wouldn't instant death it, which I'm correct. It doesn't instant death it, but being that the Talos has no invulnerable saves, it can't do any saves against any of the destroyer weapon attacks. So as long as I have a unit of 3. Alright, so if I have, you got 3 attacks, and you're doing 2 wounds, say that the attack is doing 2 wounds for each hit, you're going to lose 1 talus to 4 wounds, and then the other talus will be alive with 1 wound left. The reason being is because the 2 wounds won't kill the talus out, so you have to spend another 2 wounds to finish him off, and then the 1 remaining attack that has 2 wounds will drop him down to 1. Because again, the multi-wounds from a single hit cannot carry over to other models in the unit. So the main thing is to keep in mind is that each hit is treated separately. Oh, the gargantuan creature fell down. Alright, let's see if I can bounce him back up.